Hello and welcome to yet another beautiful day in the Lake District. It's the 1st of July today and the weather's absolutely gorgeous. We've got a little bit of cloud about, but mostly it's beautiful blue skies, and when the sun comes out it's lovely and warm. But these aren't particularly great conditions for photography. Personally, I find that when the sun's out it creates really harsh shadows, and I think that doesn't produce a particularly attractive photo. So what I tend to do on days like today is I come out and go for a nice walk, enjoy the warm weather, but I scout out new locations and try and find new places to photograph, and that's what I've done today. I've come up to Harrop Tarn, which is close to Thirlmere, and I'm just going to scout around and see if there are any interesting photos that I can come back to when, perhaps when the light's a bit better. So the first thing that I do when I come out on these trips, scouting out new locations, is I try and figure out how long it's going to take me to get to the location. So this morning it took me about 45 minutes to drive to Thirlmere and park up, and then about another 45 minutes to hike up to Harrop Tarn. Now these scouting expeditions, they're about figuring out when's the best time to come, how long it takes, where are the best shots, etc, etc, etc. But one of the most important things is figuring out the safest route to the location that you can possibly find. So I don't always take the most direct route, and particularly in this case the most direct route is up across quite some rough ground. Now bear in mind, I tend to like to photograph around sunrise rather than sunset, and so I'm coming up here in the dark. So I found a nice kind of logging track, very wide, very flat, very easy to navigate, and for me that's the safest and best route up here. So what sort of equipment do I bring with me when I come on these sorts of trips? Well, I basically only need two things. I don't bother with my full kit, I don't bother with my SLR or any lenses or filters or tripods or anything like that. I essentially bring two things. The first thing is my mobile phone. So this is an iPhone 5S, I think, and I use it for taking notes, but there's also a couple of apps on here that I use. There's the OS Map app that I use for sort of navigating my way around, and there's also an app called Photo Pills, which helps me to determine where the sun is going to rise at any particular point of day. And the other thing that I bring is my compact camera. This is a Canon S90. It's about 7 or 8 years old now, and I use this to move around the location where I'm shooting, and I use it to try and find some kind of interesting compositions. Now the thing about this compact is that it has kind of two advantages. Firstly, it has kind of full manual controls, so I'm not just shooting what the camera thinks I should be. I do have a little bit of control, and the other thing is it shoots raw, and so that does give me the opportunity to do a bit more manipulation in Lightroom when I'm finished. So the first kind of potential shot that I've found already is this one here. I'm on a little beach, and I think this is the north end of Harrop Tarn, and I've got this quite a nice sort of layered shot here. So I've got the water, which has gone very still. I think the wind's completely dropped off now, and that's putting some nice reflections of this mountain here. And then I've got a band of pine trees just beneath the peak of the mountain, and then I have this band here of water lilies, and I think that creates quite a nice layered shot. So I'm kind of looking, it's sort of north of that way, which means the east is behind you. So when the sun is rising, once it's risen above the Helvellyn range off to my east from here, this should light up that, and that could make quite a decent shot. So I'm going to take a few snaps of that now, and we'll have a look at what that looks like as a composition when we get back home. of the other things that I like about this little camera is this ring that's on the front here. And now that can be configured to change any number of settings, but I have it set to change the focal length. So what happens is as I turn the ring, it moves through a series of preset focal lengths. Now those focal lengths are 28mm, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm and 105mm. Now let's not worry too much about the stuff at the long end of that, but 28mm, 35mm and 50mm are the three focal lengths that I use the most on my DSLR. Now, is that coincidence, or have Canon been really clever there? I'll let you decide. Now I'm still kind of trying to find a composition with these lily pads here. They're kind of drawing me in. We've got this line of the beach that kind of leads away, and there are some nice kind of reeds and grasses in the foreground here as well. So I think there could be a shot here. And it's one I think I'm going to explore a little bit more. So I've finished sort of exploring the beach, and now I'm going to try and move around the edge of the tarn a little bit. It's a bit boggy underfoot, so I'm having to go very carefully. Ooh. So I've literally moved, what, 50 yards around the edge of the tarn. I've got this view now across these lily pads that we were looking at earlier, and that's looking out towards Helvellyn, so that could be a nice shot as well. Now as we move further round the tarn, I'm being drawn more and more towards this mountain. As we come away from the tarn, the composition starts to get more and more simple, and simplifying my compositions is something that I'm always trying to do. So now we've really just got two elements. We've got the mountain, and then we've got the band of pine trees beneath it. Now it doesn't look like much now, but imagine what that would look like with some beautiful golden light, morning light on those mountains up there. I mean, I think that could be a really special picture. Now, I've just found this little stream, which somehow I've got to get across in a minute. But there's this beautiful little S-curve here, and I think we can all think of a YouTube photographer who likes a nice S-curve. So I've made my way all the way around the lake. I'm now at the other side from the beach where I originally started from. It's really boggy round there, and I have to be extra specially careful because the orchids are just coming out, so I've had to sort of pick my way through and mind all the boggy spots as well as the flowers. But now that I'm on the other side, I can see there's perhaps another shot across the tarn there. It's a very simple shot again. You've got the tarn, and you've got a band of trees behind it. However, from here, I'm probably not at the right angle to get enough of the tarn in the shot. So I'm going to have to head up. And as I do that, as I get further away, I'm going to need a longer focal length to simplify the composition and just get the tarn and the trees in behind. which is a bit of a problem because I don't have a very long focal length. On my SLR I've only got the one lens, and that only goes up to 70mm, so that might not be a shot for me, but I'm going to go and check it out nevertheless. Now I found a little path leading up from the tarn uphill, and I've kind of followed a little wall up, and as I got a couple of 100 yards up I found this kind of big flat rock which I'm stood on now, and as I look out towards the view there, I've got the kind of composition I was expecting. I can see a bit more of the tarn, I can fill a bit more of the frame with the tarn, and then behind that I've got the band of trees and then the mountain behind that. And that there's some possibilities there. I'm taking a couple of shots with the S90, and I'm somewhere between 50mm and 85mm. And that's quite encouraging as well, because the lens on my DSLR goes up to 70mm, so there might be something that I could work with. So this is probably a shot that I should come back to and visit at another time. Now back at the edge of the tarn, and as you can see it's sort of clouded over. So I came down from where I was earlier up on the rock, looking down the tarn, and I come across a stream that's running out of the tarn, and I'm guessing down into Thirlmere. There's a little bridge there, and there's a weir there, and there's quite a nice shot looking back towards that mountain that we were looking at earlier. With the weir in the foreground and the mountain in the background. I've had a look at my OS map app, and that's telling me that mountain's called Bell Crags. There's a few shots here, but I'm constantly being drawn towards that mountain. Right, so I'm back at the beach where I started from. The weather's not quite as nice as it was when I first arrived. I've worked my way all the way around the tarn. I've looked at various different compositions. Yeah, and I think there's definitely a shot here. So hopefully you've kind of enjoyed this video, you found it kind of interesting about how I, scout locations. I don't just turn up somewhere for the very first time and get a fantastic shot. There's a lot of work that goes into some of my photographs beforehand. Not all of them, some of them are kind of quite spontaneous and off the cuff, but most of the time I end up going to locations that I've at least done a recce before, and I know what I'm going to shoot. I think there's some potential here at Harrop Tarn. I'm definitely drawn towards that mountain that's rising up above me there. Bell Crags. I definitely think there's a shot there. So yeah, I'm going to head back down to the car now. I'm going to go back the same way that I came, take a nice gentle stroll down the logging track. So until next time, take it easy.